Hello everybody and welcome to another video education series. Today's video is going to be on the best times of day to trade. Now when we put a signal out, it typically will execute for the very next day. I went over this a little bit in a couple of previous educational videos, so you may want to refer to those as well too, but I wanted to really identify exactly when we want to be putting the signals out, when you want to be placing the signals, and when you want to expect the signal to execute and how long you want to hold that position for. Now, some of the signals we will be sending out will also be for swing trades. So, for example, you put the signal in and it executes maybe on a Monday and we exit the position on a Friday. So that's called a swing trade. That's kind of a weekly hold idea, and there will be several of those coming up. But for the most part, the majority of our trades will be for the day. So what you want to do is, I mentioned it before again, is you want to check for signals the night before markets open. So what I mean by that, if this is a typical calendar day, these dotted lines right here, that's 24 hours of the trading day. I just have a chart of the pound dollar here. I'm just using any old chart, and it just happens to be for December 19th, so the previous week of trading. So this is a 24-hour period from this dotted line to this dotted line, and that's a full trading day in Forex. So there are times of the day that you pretty much don't want to be trading, and I showed you that here. You see down here, times not to be trading. That's in the pink here. So let's say your day starts, and then you go through the trading day, you put your signal out, you exit the trade. Then there's this time period in here where the market really doesn't go anywhere. It just sort of chops sideways. Those are the times when you don't really want to be in the market. There's no use unless you're a scalper or you're predicting some type of large market movement. That's typically the time of day where you want to stay out because there's not a lot of action. You typically want to put your trades in when the most volatility is occurring, and that's in these hours right in here. So a typical day, what you'll do is, and I'm going to use all New York time here, depending on your Forex provider, your broker provider, it's going to depend on what they have for their GMT times in their settings. So as you can see here, I have various times down here. All the references that I'm doing are going to be off of New York time. So if you're in London, you just subtract London time to whatever it is in New York time, and that's the time that we're going to be sending all of our signals off in, or whatever part of the world that you're in. If you're on the West Coast of North America, then obviously add 2 hours and to New York time or 3 hours to New York time, and away you go. So we'll just kind of outline a typical day and walk you through it. So let's say this day, I believe December 19th, happened to be a Tuesday. So Monday's trading occurs, that's over here. Tuesday, it's Monday night. Before Tuesday's trading, that's what this timeline delineates here, and then we start the day. So what you do before London open, or before 1 a.m. New York time, that's this time period in here, what you want to do is you want to look for signals. So jump onto our website and open up the signals section and go through and see if there's any signals for that particular day coming up. I'll just put that right in here. Look for signals. Oh, actually, sorry, I've got that right up here already. We're going to assume we're going to start back in here, though. We'll just do this. Grab this. There we go. So that's this section here. So that's before 1 a.m. or midnight in New York, basically, is when they will all be out for that next trading day. So that's when you look for signals, and that's when you put your limit orders in. We discussed how to do that in the previous educational session, so you'll want to refer back to that. Now, what the point of that is you want to get that in before the market volatility starts to happen. So you're not putting a trade in. If you can't be in front of your screen at, let's say, 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. New York time, or 7 a.m. till 10 a.m. New York time, you can't be in front of your computer. You want to set those limit orders, and you want to set those in this time frame here. So before 1 a.m. New York time is when you want to put those in. So you set it, put it in, and then the market starts to do its thing. You can see here towards this time frame here when London opens, and what I mean by London opens is that's when the traders in London, they get up, they turn on their computers, and they start trading, and that's when the most volatility of the day starts to happen. And that's when typically our trades will execute. Now, sometimes if it's a slow day, maybe there's some news events out or something happens, maybe London may be a bit muted, you might get some sideways action or some chop, and then the actual action is going to start in New York. And that's from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. New York time. So it could happen then as well. But if you put your limit orders in ahead of time, you set it and forget it, and you walk away, and then you can just let the trade do its thing if you can't be in front of your computer to watch it. Now, hopefully what will happen is the trade will execute around this time of day. And again, all the trades have stop losses, they have targets, so sometimes all the action will happen in this time frame. We don't know. But that's why we typically like to make sure that we have our orders in for these two time periods in here, this one and this one. The market will do its thing. It'll go up, it'll go down, it'll trigger our position, and it'll trade to the target, hopefully, and then it'll exit, and that's typically just a little after between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. New York time. And that's typically how long we want to hold the trades for. So when you check back, if you want to get an update, or if you haven't checked, got a text message or an Instagram post update that there's been a change, you want to check back on the website and just find out what's going on with the trade and make sure that there haven't been any updates on it. But typically we will be closing all of our trades come 12 p.m. New York time. The next day. So then from there, that's when the market starts to chop, it starts to slow down, everyone goes home for the day, the trading's done, and that's where you get this sideways action in here. And then for Wednesday's day, which starts after this time, this dotted line right here, this is Wednesday, the same sequence repeats. You check for the signals, you put your limit order in, or you wait for 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. New York time if you're in front of your computer, and place your trade then. Or from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. New York time, you'd place it over here. And then you'd ride the trade out for the next day and and exit the trade no later than 12 p.m. New York time. So again, there are times of the day you definitely want to be in the market and putting trades on, and times you don't. So hopefully this kind of gives you a real brief idea as to sort of when we will be putting signals out, when we will be closing the trades, and typically when the trades will execute as well too. Now, I just want to give you just a quick heads up to let you know that sometimes if there's, again, some large news events coming out, or there's FOMC later that week, sometimes the markets can react a little bit differently, and so sometimes that will delay our signals coming out. So instead of the signals coming out before London open, before the 11 a.m. New York time, we'll have to wait for those news events to take place, and then we'll put the signal out. And generally what we will do is it will be right around that 5 a.m. to 6 o'clock, 7 a.m. to 8 o'clock a.m. New York time, before CME open, which is at about 8:20 in the morning. We will be putting out a signal for the New York session, and that will get the remainder of the day. Just again, sometimes the market isn't favorable to trading in the London session, so then we will put a trade out for the New York, and that way we can still capture the move. So that would be the only small variance, and when those days do happen, we will let you know ahead of time. Always make sure to check the news events on the website and make sure you keep up to date with everything, and otherwise all the trades that do execute, you will get instant updates and notifications from our analysts on the fly as things are happening, to make sure that your trade executes and triggers and takes profit as it should. So hopefully that clears a few things up for everybody. If you have any other questions regarding this, make sure you send us an email to f45trading@gmail.com, and we'll do our best to answer whatever we can for you. Thank you very much, everybody, and we hope you have a great day.